Hi, welcome to PJ and the Beard. This is our 19 conversation series. This will be episode 41. Yeah, higher numbers, higher math for Pat over there.
But it's always backwards. I don't know if this is 14, 41. I guess that's 41.
Yes, 41. Episode number 41.
Yeah.
I'm not sure there's anything left to talk about. Paul,
Right.
Congratulations on getting the front row seat again. TL Pedals is in here. Sorry I missed you today, man. We'll figure that out. We're working on it. We're trying to get him on the show. Pete Hickson, good day. Brian Landreth, Brody, all the usual suspects, right?
Yeah.
So, anything good?
I just got a notification that PJ and the Beard were going live. Let's go check out and see what those knuckleheads are talking about.
Right.
No, actually, beautiful day in our neck of the woods today. It's been kind of overcast and rainy the last 3 days, and I think it decided it wanted to be spring today. So, never a bad thing.
Full disclosure, we were literally talking about chocolate milk before we went live.
Yeah, we were. Yeah, from a local creamery, dairy, whatever we would call it. And so I mowed the grass and I had headphones on. I didn't get my hair and makeup done in time.
So, do we get right into clip of the day?
Yeah, sure. In some way,
before you introduce this,
yeah.
I'm cutting you off. Before you introduce this, in the chat, I would like people to guess who picked this.
Right.
I guess if you introduce it, it will probably give it away. But
right. Well, it's interesting because I when we're doing these broadcasts, I'm sort of technology free, right? Because my laptop's there, but I got this whole jerry rig thing where I got a tripod sitting on top, and then my phone is definitely locked down because that's what I'm broadcasting from. But this guy, his name is Sean Lane, and he had a very short career, unfortunately, a very short life. He was only 40. He passed away in like 2003. I would have found him somewhere. It was the Power of 10 album that he put out. That was the first time I ever heard him, and he was probably some young guy on the radar to watch or whatever. And we'll watch the clip, and then we'll talk a little bit more about him.
Okay.
I think after that flurry, we all kind of felt like the bass player when he was done. Like, what just happened over there? I wanted to pick a thing that you could see both, right? Because you know how there's the whole thing about the whole Jimi Hendrix was on a television show and asked what it's like to be the greatest thing, and he's like, I don't know, ask Phil Keaggy. Those kind of rumors. It's Wikipedia, so you have to wonder. But at one point, Paul Gilbert is like, Sean Lane is the fastest guitar player I've ever heard. It's really interesting because you could see he could do melodic stuff, and he does a lot of instrumental things, pretty much solely instrumental things. But he kind of goes from that melodic kind of soaring thing to just ridiculous stuff. It's unbelievable. And he's got some lessons out there, which are there for entertainment. And I don't know, interesting guy. He had, it's kind of weird, like had psoriasis, right? Which seems relatively benign. But then through medications he was taking and other things, he then put on weight, and it was just a whole tragic thing for him to pass away at 40. But there's lots of videos out there about him, some lessons. I don't know if did you back that up to the beginning, or were you getting out of it?
Well, yeah, because when you sent this to me and I clicked on it, he just played more notes on the guitar than I have played on the guitar my whole life.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
So interesting, you know, and it's over. I would say probably overdone on some things, but it's really cool how he can come out of those melodic things and then just throw one of those face melter parts in there and then get back to the melodic stuff. And interesting. So I stumbled across him. I don't know if it was through, you know, Guitar Player magazine or who knows. Could even been the whole joke that you've seen some memes out there about. I think I owe Columbia House money from the 99-cent CDs or whatever. It might have come through that, but yeah, Powers of 10 was the album that I had, and still have it somewhere, wherever we keep our CDs these days, in some box in the dark dank basement probably. So anyway, that's Sean Lane, and like Jason said, ooh, guess who picked him?
So yeah, guess who picked him? In the chat, I want to take care of this. TL Pedals, we want to have him on the show. He said, so we've been emailing back and forth, and he was a little nervous about his internet connection, and we were going to kind of test it out earlier today, get him in to see if it works. And it just didn't work out. So maybe later tonight we could try that. If you want to test that out later tonight, we could try it, make sure it works or whatever. Because whenever we do it, I want to have a little bit of time before we pull you on to be able to put out like a promo to Instagram and Facebook and stuff, just to make sure. I don't know how many people it draws in, but I'd like to try, you know.
Well, I'm just suggesting this out loud live. Like, depending on how long we go tonight, do you want to just try to do it at the end if he just hangs in there, or you send him a link or something?
It's possible. Depends on how long it goes.
Because, yeah, you know, we're going to go to 54 minutes, and then someone's going to ask us a question to try to get us to an hour. Yeah, that's true. David Barber's like, if he had only been played the melodic stuff, he probably would have never been known. Face melting was his calling card. That is for darn sure. I mean, it's crazy. It's just nonstop. It's to the point of ridiculous sometimes. But he breaks down that technique of how he does that. It's just stupid. So anyway,
yeah, it's a thing.
Yeah. He did Purple Haze, right? And he kind of stayed, like, he colored outside the lines a little bit. And then when that song was going out, it was just... So go look him up. It's fun. It's I don't know. It's kind of like going to the circus and watching the people do the feats of strength where they're, you know, balancing on a pinky and have someone standing on their feet on top of them. And you're like, how do they do that? Well, anyway, you can tell I'm infatuated with that kind of stuff. And that's the furthest thing from my playing. But
yeah, I mean, it's. I'm trying to figure out how to play 16th notes in time, right? I'm still trying to figure out alternate picking.
Well, it's weird. He shows like a 4-note pattern in one of his lessons, and he picks the first two, kind of pulls off the second one, goes to the second string that he plays on, picks the first two, pulls off to get more legato instead of staccato, and then when he gets to the third string, he only hits one of the notes. And then the last string, he like pulls off all of them. It's interesting the way he breaks it down,
and then does it all in time and does it all with you know, good note separation. And
I mean, his sweep picking becomes strumming at some point. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, you know, who knows what he'd be doing now if he were still alive? But interesting little thing for me, but.
Pete Hickson said, obviously not human. TL Pedals getting some love from Dash. Dash looks like a new name. I don't know if I've seen Dash in here before, so welcome.
Yeah.
I kind of hate the of the day moniker, but it's kind of, I guess when you do it every day, you're allowed to do that, right?
Well, we named it 19 Conversations kind of tongue-in-cheek, thinking we are never going to have to do 19 conversations. So
right, and we're on conversation number 41.
So of the day is our least of our worries.
Right. It's kind of like man cave, too. It's just so...
Right.
I say beard cave. And
it's like when people say... I know, sorry.
I don't want a man cave.
If I ever say...
Anti-man cave.
If I say beard cave to you and you get upset, just use the word kiddos. That is like nails on a chalkboard for me.
Oh, kiddos. My kiddos at school call it my basement.
Yeah, I figured I'd give you a little bit of ammunition to come back. But yeah, kiddos. Oh, my gosh. Here's a totally off-topic subject. What is the word you hate? Is it kiddos? Is it moist? Like, what is the word that you can't stand? A little pet peeve while Jason moves on to something much more interesting.
Man cave is a pet peeve of mine.
Yeah. Yeah.
And to all of those of you out there that have a man cave or a sign leading to your man cave, that's totally cool. I'm all right with that. I don't mind it at your house. I just, for some reason, I'm not a Neanderthal, and I don't want to go down to my man cave and be away from him. Yeah, my wife is welcome to come down to my man cave. So pedal of the day. Brad Miller said, "Irregardless." Is that the word you hate? Regardless of what Brad Miller says right now, I'm going to move on to the.
Irregardless of your question, I'm not going to tell you what my word is.
On the other hand, this is it. The two pedal builders in here. So let's show a $30 pedal that you buy on Amazon from China. I don't think either of those guys make a delay pedal right now. So just an analog, supposedly analog delay. Maybe that would be. It would be interesting to know. Does it matter? There's part of me, that falls into that doesn't matter. But supposedly an analog delay. It's the Donner Yellow Fall. Donner makes cheap pedals, but there's some good stuff in there. So I have that DM2 that's on my pedal board. But when I wanted to go to the Blues Jam or go somewhere like that, or just to a rehearsal, and just to take an overdrive and a delay, luckily I had two Barber electronic direct drives. So then the delay would be, if I didn't want to pull one off the board, I started using this. Now I've been using lately the Dispatch Master from Earthquaker that we showed when Jamie Stillman was on, because that one has reverb in it too. So you don't know if you're getting reverb in an amp, you at least have some reverb there. Two pedals, whatever. But this one's really nice. It sounds good. Echo feedback and time. I think it's actually maybe a little bit more than $30 on Amazon, but they're pretty, relatively inexpensive. Maybe it's like a $50 pedal. Irregardless of what the price is, it's. Did we get any other words that we?
Is it good for Fusion? Can you play Fusion on there for David Barber?
If you just need a little bit of analog delay in your man cave to annoy the kiddos,
so it'd be like Brody mentioned the word "buddy" in the context of encouragement. You can do it, buddy. Really means you suck, but I can't say that out loud. Hey, buddy, you need an analog delay for your Fusion band, irregardless of what other people say.
Brad's gonna be like, why did I type that? Nobody else is giving us. Nobody else? Come on, buddy, you can do it. You can type one in there. Yeah,
Paul Ewing kind of pointing out here too. Yeah, you see these things branded different ways. Donner, our mini pedals are rebranded Moore pedals. Yeah, it's kind of weird. They're kind of interchangeable, some of these things.
Right. When you look at it, sometimes it's hard to tell where the original one came from. Sometimes like the graphics and everything are the same too, right?
Right.
So, but I've had this one for quite a while. I like it. I do not hesitate to throw it on a board. We've used it. I know we've used it on a bunch of episodes and we just want to put a delay pedal in the back. We've used that because the original DM2 is power. The power on that's kind of weird because it's one of those older Boss ones. So sometimes it's just easier to use this because you don't have to worry about the power. So anyway, the Donner Yellow Fall. Strange yellow too. It's not a TV yellow. It's like a green yellow.
It's not. It's not even mustard. Spicy brown mustard yellow.
Speaking of not a TV yellow.
Yes, that was a brilliant segue.
I don't know. Should we do the guitar of the day already? We're at 14 minutes. If we do the guitar, then we're done.
It's not an untrue. It's not an untrue story that of the day we're going to run into a problem with guitars before we do pedals.
Well, would you start recycling them then?
We could. I can't even remember which ones I've shown at this point. So,
guitar of the day. TV yellow. Does it look yellower on your TV screen over there, Pat?
No. Nuclear yellow.
We have dubbed it the
the Heinz spicy in honor of Pennsylvania. The spicy brown mustard.
Yes, it's spicy brown mustard. Oh, and everybody likes the headstocks, right?
Right. They look
That's not too bad.
Authentic.
That's not too out there.
David Barber's going with orange, although Dave is a self-proclaimed person who's colorblind. So, but so was the person who called a TV yellow in China.
So this is the Harley Benton DC Junior. Double cut, one single P90 volume tone. You're thinking about maybe doing an episode where we upgrade the pickup in this.
Yeah, for the Lollers that we so badly wanted to buy for the Telly that we steered away from, that may wind up with a Lollar P90 in it. We want to make the guitar pickup cost more than the guitar.
Right. Because, like, what knuckleheads would take... Hold on a second. Here it is on the Toman... Oh, no. That's not the Toman.
They're still calling it... Well, yeah.
The Toman music site. This is $179. I'm a little shocked by this. It says shipping is $48.60. When I bought this guitar, shipping was $30, but maybe with some of the current things happening in the world, shipping is up a little bit. It used to be, I don't know if it still is, that for that shipping price, you could buy 3 guitars. So you could buy 3 guitars, have 3 guitars shipped over. And they have a whole bunch of other stuff. In fact, when I first went over to the Harley Benton page, excuse me, they had their top sellers right here. So they had the Double Cut Junior, the like a Jazz Master Les Paul, and then I was like, "What is that?" For $179 again, the CLR Rezo King. So, but anyway, we're talking about this guy. So right around $200, a little bit over $200. There is an episode on this. There's a couple episodes on it, I think. There's an unboxing of it, but then there's one where Christelle Porter from Woodshed Guitar, who we've had on the show several times, kind of took it for a week. Played it a little bit, set it up. I'll tell you, the setup on it is fantastic. I mean, he did tweaking. We did not pay him to set it up, and but he did do a couple little tweaks. He talks about the tweaks he did in the video, and then kind of rates it. Talks about the quality of the components, the parts.
And he rated it pretty high. I mean, he did that for 2 other guitars that are not in that price. One was like $130 and one was like $240. But probably out of the box, this one rated pretty high. It was actually playable out of the box.
Right, because the other one we did was a Firefly double cut that had 2 P90s in it.
Yeah.
And out of the box had some pretty serious intonation problems.
Yeah, you couldn't even play the cowboy chords. It went sharp, I think.
I think the nut was too high on it. So when you press
it was wild, right? Because it was a real bone nut, and fortunately, it wasn't cut deep enough, so he didn't have to add to it. He could subtract it. But yeah, it was crazy. Yeah, Brody's saying the double cut juniors with the single P90s rock because he's a big, Don Barnes fan from 38 Special.
So to me, this was. Well, to me, this was, let's get something in we could do for the YouTube channel for fun.
Right.
That we could always flip, so we can always sell this. Notice it's still here. So there's 3 kind of guitars that we got in for that. One was the Tajima, one was the Firefly, and one was this. So a friend of ours has the Firefly, so it's still around.
Right.
But we haven't, these haven't left yet.
And all of them unmodded. We didn't do anything to them. Some people, because it was kind of like, let's see what the buzz is about, right? Because the Fireflies and the Harley Bentons were on different Facebook groups we follow, and people are kind of using them as a mod platform. But we were just curious to see what is it like out of the box. I think part of the downside is just the pickup. You can't really adjust that one. You'd have to shim it or do something else. So that's kind of like, to raise that pickup would have been nice, I think, is one of the comments. But that's why we've thought about. It's one P90. Would we figure it out and put one in there? But
I don't know. If I get that off the screen and hold it up, can we see that? Probably not. Let me see how far.
Yeah. Yep.
So, I mean, there's a pretty good gap between that pickup and the strings. So one of the things when I looked at the Lawler pickups, they make 3 different, like a small, medium, and large height pickup, and I'm not really sure right now which one I'd want. And I want to be careful because I don't want to get one that will go in here and not go in anything else. Because, like I said, what kind of goons put a Lawler pickup in $100, a $200 guitar? So we kind of thought it would be neat to replace this P90 with something, and then kind of, do like an A/B video, but then maybe have the option. Oh, you know what, Pat? That's not going to work because the soap bars on because I saw Dave. I haven't read everything in the comments yet, but Dave said the PRS ones are really nice. I played one of those one time in a shop, and I should have bought it. They had it marked too high for the shop. I'm not going to tell you what shop it was, but it was just marked too high. And so wasn't Chris. Chris did have one. I should have bought the one he had. But there's a PRS SE soap bar up on the wall that we have over here that has 2 P90s in it. And I thought, well, maybe I'll buy a set, put one here, pop it out, and then put it in the PRS and see how that works out. But this has the dog ears and the PRS doesn't.
Right. Ouch. But
yeah, he said Gibson specials are very heavy. This thing looks light.
Yeah, David Barber talking about the Starla X, because he brought that one over and didn't plug it in when he came over, but then he played that a little bit. The one time we sort of impromptu brought him in the chat. It's a really cool guitar.
So anything else going on in the chat? Are you watching that?
Yeah, I'm kind of. Brody's asking if that pickup's noisy. I don't remember it being noisy, honestly.
I don't remember it being noisy either.
Maybe because it's far from the strings. But no, it's actually nice. I mean, it was just more of a curiosity than hey, this pickup is junk. It says, I think it says Roswell on it. We were joking that the only way they could get these guitars that cheap is the alien technology they stole from Area 51. But.
Yeah, and I don't know. I mean, we didn't have it out on stage or anything. We played it down here. No, that's not.
You played it live before.
Yeah. I have played it live before. I don't want to answer the noisy question. I don't remember.
I mean, I don't remember. I think I would remember if it was, but I
don't remember if it was if I was turning it down between songs because there was a buzz and turning it back up. I don't remember.
David Barber is saying further from the strings would be noisier. Why? Because you would turn it up to compensate? Is that maybe why you're saying that? That and you know more than I do.
I don't know. That sounds like a myth.
That's right. We should bust that myth on some segment with the guests. There you go. Signal to noise comes from the source being lower than the noise floor. Okay.
Yeah, Brian just said that's the thing. He hates to put a lot of money into a P90 guitar because he's not sure that he'd love it. And so I started with that PRS Soap Bar 2 with 2 P90s in it, and I don't love it. In fact, it might be the first guitar I ever sell because I don't know. I played it at a rehearsal one time and got through 2 songs and tried it again, got through 1 song that down the road. I'm not able to get the guitar feels great because it has almost the same neck that I have on my McCarty. I mean, the neck feels great. It's a PRS neck.
Right.
I hate to say anything negative about PRS because we're big fans, but that particular guitar I wasn't able to get with. So I was like, maybe I don't like P90s. But then we got the Tajima, which doesn't have great P90. Probably because it's what? Would we $100 and some for that?
Right.
It sounds great, and I like the way it sounds. And I played this a whole, whatever you want to call it, a whole set service.
Yeah, opening set. They're probably the 2 more upbeat
I think I played it like a whole morning one time. You know, and just rode the volume knob and the tone knob on it, and really enjoyed it and liked it. And it does make me want to get. I'd like to try something with good P90s in it.
You mean like a 60-year-old P90 or 55-year-old P90, for example?
Sure.
But that's the other thing, too. Once we go down the P90 path, we may have the gold standard. It's not in the room now, but I showed it ad nauseum. The 65 Les Paul Jr. I have my grandfather's single P90. So we'll have something to compare it to. Za checking in. He said he's a little late for the party. So, Za, just one thing I'll say to you if you want to have some fun later. The clip of the day was Sean Lane. So if you want your brain to leak out of your head because somebody plays fast, go do that. And we showed a cheap analog toy.
Brody said he loves P90s. What is it that makes people like them and vice versa?
Yeah.
New Gibson P90s are good. You don't have to get crazy. Good match on the P90 and the mahogany. P90 might be Dave's favorite.
Yeah, I was watching some video. Well, you know, actually, I know what it was. It was Rick Beato was talking about how many guitars that he has that have P90s in them, and as a producer, he loves them. He's like, you'd be surprised at how many tracks you've heard that have P90s on them.
It's weird because I was, I was a humbucker guy, like the McCarty humbucker, like for years. And lately, I've been playing that Telecaster, that 50s Telecaster that does have the mini bucker in it, but the mini bucker is a little different than a humbucker. Mm-hmm. Or the Supro with like the kind of fatter, the gold foil single coils, the Tajima with the P90s in it. Like I've been taking something more single coily, if you would, than I used to. It's a different style of music than I used to play, but I don't know. There's something I don't know, something that cuts through maybe a little bit more. I don't
know. New name for me at least, Alan Bordage, something in.
He loves the P90s too.
He just said, yo. We'll put him as a yes. That's an affirmative.
Paul said,
yeah,
he finds him a bit strident. And I don't know if that might be the right word for that. When I took that PRS, the PRS with the P90s in and started playing it, I got the immediate sound guy you need to turn down.
Yeah.
My volume was actually lower than it would have been with a humbucker guitar, but I think they were just like ice picks. They were just like,
yeah, more of a tone than a volume. Hey, Dan Mowry, who we've referred to many times on this show, has made an appearance here. Welcome, Dan.
I wish they made a mother.
That's right.
Damn.
Play it on Mother's Day for all you mother lovers. It's coming up this weekend, by the way. Don't forget. David Barber said the only reason PAF had adjustable screws for height was to market them like P90s. The screws on the PF do very little, just marketing. There you go.
So Dan's over in Facebook. Dan, you ought to jump into the YouTube version of this because then you can see the chat. Like, it's kind of cool. There's some names maybe that you would recognize in there. I know Dan knows Dave Barber's pedals because he used to have one of the Barber Electronics direct drives too. Dan makes pedals too. Yep. So there's 3 guys in here, I guess, that can make pedals. I don't think he's doing a lot of it now, but I think we mentioned a week or so ago that he made that. What's the name of Dan? What was the name of your reverb pedal? He had a Heisenberg Boost, which was like a boost pedal, but I can't remember the name of the reverb pedal. But it got a lot of love from Reverb.com, the store.
Right.
Another local guy. Dan and I played in the band together for a while.
Paul Ewing is saying that he finds P90s are good with high gain overdrives and fuzz pedals. Das Verb is what Dan's saying. DASVURB.
The Das Verb. Yes. Remember now. Stanford Magnetics. Check out their website a while back. Looks like great stuff all around in house. Yeah. That is a rabbit hole that I'm afraid to go down. Like I'm half afraid to order a pickup and swap it out. And this, it's like that and speakers, because once you get into it, you're done. Like you just drop money. I mean, I know there's guys that have drawers full of pickups, right? Like, and speakers too. Like I keep thinking maybe I should change the speaker in that
the Classic 30 or something.
Right.
Yeah.
That Fender Hot Rod Deluxe. I should probably change. Somebody did change the speaker in the Classic 30. That has I forget what that has in it.
Which one? Sorry, I was reading the comments.
The PV Classic 30.
They have the blue marbles, I think.
Something like that.
That was standard for a very long time.
Looks like a flag on the back. No, somebody changed the speaker. That's not an original speaker in that right now.
That's right. You have a standby switch too, right? Or that's on the head.
That's on the head.
Yeah.
LPD boost, the Mythos fuzz. What pedal are you building, Brad?
We don't like to count our chickens before they're hatched, but we've had several conversations with Zach Broyles from Mythos, and as soon as he gets past a little bit of a backlog, we hope to have him on. When you go on the that pedal show in Anderson's, you tend to get a lot of orders you have to fulfill. So, Dan Barry is on YouTube now. Welcome, Dan.
Dave said, but the speakers are the only part of your rig that makes a sound. One of the biggest changes you can make. I know, and in either the interview or the live stream we did with Dave, he talked about that, and I was sitting there thinking, oh my gosh, I put that. I think the Hot Rod has like a Celestian Vintage 30 that I bought from BCR that Greg had that was probably used when I bought it. It's been in there as long as I've had that amp, and I keep thinking maybe I should, why I would be a little suspect on that speaker anyway, but I don't know. Maybe I should. What would be the speaker to put in? I'm intrigued by the what's the hemp ones that everybody's using.
I don't know. I'm a sucker for vintage 30s, but that's me. No, I'm not sure.
The LPD K1 and the Myth. Oh, okay. They're both kits that you're putting together. That's cool. I should have did that too, just to have something to do.
Cannabis Rex is what David Barber's saying.
Cannabis Rex
speaker, yeah.
Is the hemp model?
So many comments today, though. It's actually moving when I try to read it with my old man eyes.
Do we recommend the Cannabis Rex?
I don't know. I wanted to say, well, Sean Zimmerman, welcome in. Hope you're feeling good today, man. He said he knows of some hemp cones that are Eminence speakers.
Cannabis Rex is Eminence.
Gotcha. There you go. Look at me. TL Pedals Canada. I knew I liked you. Vintage 30s. Good for you. Check. Brody's saying check out Warehouse speakers.
So I took that amp down to Todd at one point, and I was going to have Todd go over something, and he carried Warehouse speakers, and I was going to have him put a Warehouse speaker in it. He looked at the speaker, was like, why would you do that? The speaker's fine. And so I never did it. Not a huge fan of Cannabis Rex. Okay. Maybe I shouldn't change it. Of course, once you change it, then you're like, oh man, I don't like it anymore, and you got to change it back. Just get a cab with a Jensen speaker for something different. My old the Fender Super amp that I played with for years had Jensen mods in it. Had 4 10-inch Jensen mod speakers in it, which I always really liked.
Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of the PV Classic cabinets, which I think all of them pretty much stock blue marbles in there. But I also have Mesa cabinets and have a 412 that's very minty, that's remaining minty because it never gets used. That has vintage 30s. I have a oversized 212 that I play all the time that has vintage, and I love it. But then I have a like a 3-quarterback with a 90-watt Black Shadow, and I have one of the Thiel cabinets that has like the 200-watt speaker in it. So, but I generally fall back more towards vintage 30s, and I haven't tried greenbacks. I feel like I could probably love them as well, but Brody. Personally, it depends on the amp. Vintage 30s, greenbacks, whatever came in old classic PV amps. The guy who changes nothing but his clothes and his oil. Because Brody's like, I just tend to keep things the way the creator built them. So.
Is your vintage 30 an England made one? I have no idea. I don't know. I didn't know anything about it. I just knew I needed a speaker. I went into that store and they said, I have this vintage 30 here, and he put it in, and that was the end of it. And that was probably, oh my gosh, that could have been 15 years, or probably more than 15 years ago.
So a couple people have chimed in about 10-inch speakers. I tend to like 12s. Actually, I do have a Mesa Maverick head and a 410 matching cabinet with that as well. And some of the PV classic stuff I have obviously is a 410 and a 15. But I don't know. I guess what 10s could be.
I like 10s.
Yeah.
That super amp that's 410s. And I love that amp. There's a 410 Marshall cabinet in the basement too. But I've never really got to get any use out of it, but I have it just in case. An old 410 Marshall cabinet I bought from Mike Morrison.
Keep it just for the mojo. Touch it as much as possible. Transfer something to you. So, Sean, I think several people asked how you're feeling, and if you answered, I apologize. I don't see your response. How are you doing today? I know yesterday was a bit of a rough day for you. Try to give Dave Wiener to give you special well wishes. All right. So David Barber kind of likened 10 and 12-inch speakers to like comparing Strats and Les Pauls, depending on what the gig needs. I have found personally that my experience in knowing who uses 10s, it tends to be more like blues players. Traditionally for me. But
well, and those Vibrolux, like that 60s Vibrolux that's over at Ray's house, is 2 10-inch speakers.
Brody described 10s as like the kind of bark, a Princeton Reverb, and the classic 410E. Yeah. Brody has kind of cool setup too. He's the one that turned me on to the PV Classic series, which then Jason kind of found out that way too. But Brody kind of ran rigs with the classic 30 heads and 410 cabinets, I think it was. But
you said you have 2 410s, right?
I do.
Because I have that other classic 30 head. Could I change my rig over there to be the 2 410 cabinets and 2 classic 30 heads? Do you think anybody have a problem with that?
No, not at all. Just shove it over to the side. No one will even see it. They won't even.
Can I run it in stereo?
Yeah, it's the traditional volume wars, or the perceived volume wars, and we just jokingly talked about putting all of our cabinets lining our stage at the church, kind of angle. The 2 outside walls kind of angle this way if you're looking at the stage, and so Jason's on one side and I'm on the other, and we've kind of joked about just lining the walls with cabinets and only have the traditional, arena rock where you have 12 412s and one's on and one speaker's mic'd, but
there's enough cabinets sitting around. The 410 Marshall I have, and the 2 410, 2 410s, 2 112s, 2 15s, or whatever. I mean, and then all your boogie cabinets too. There's enough there that we could make a wall of tweed back there on my side and a wall of boogie on your side, and
exactly
just to see their face, the sound guy's face when he comes in, it'd be priceless. I think we should
be like, it's too loud, but I have the smallest speaker on right now, and then have my Vox Pathfinder like behind the whole stack, and that's what I'm playing through. Okay, so Sean says, I'm good today. Arm still feeling sore, much better than yesterday. after running from surgery, and then not having dialysis in 4 days was a lot of fluid to take off. But thanks for asking. Yeah, man. Like certainly, your transparency here on this chat sort of puts things in perspective for us sometimes. So we appreciate you sharing how you're doing. And part of, Jason kind of used the word community when he and I first started talking about doing a channel together, and never envisioned it to get to where it is today. So we're glad you're in here every day. We're glad for the other friends who've chimed in, checking on you, because really there's some things that are way more important than what's a 10-inch speaker and what's a 12-inch speaker. So
this so they were saying down here, not to change the conversation.
No, it's good.
You talking to Paul, because that or Sean, that's definitely more,
Yeah.
We're happy to hear that you're doing well. Somebody said they have, there's a Princeton with chorus with 210s, a Blues DeVille with 410s, which I'm sure I like. I like the hot rod amps. I mean, there's something about those amps. I just clean channel anyway. Paul said he played a Blackface Super Reverb with 410s a few years ago. Yeah, that would be the amp that would be like my dream amp. It's the Vibrolux though, because the Vibrolux is only 2 instead of 4 and it's lighter. But the amp that I keep mentioning that I played with for so long, they still have, is this. Oh, can we make that open image in new tab? Can I make that a little bit bigger? Is this, and it's just kind of it's a weird thing. It's a volume treble bass mid on the clean, and then again, like here's your dirty channel. So it's kind of like a Fender Super, but it has this dirty channel. There's some push-pull knobs on it. You can cut with this. This amp, Ray's the musical. Ray was the best music store in the world when I was younger, because Ray came to me. He's like, dude, I got an amp I think you'd really like. I found it in the store. It had 4 different speakers in it, and it didn't turn on. So I got the amp, I retubed it, and had the speakers rewired, and now it works great. I took the amp, it had 4 different 10-inch speakers in it. They were all like different 10-inch speakers, different companies, whatever. Pulled all those speakers out, put Jensen mods in. Todd Volkmanic, who used to do a lot of amp work around here, put 4 10-inch Jensen mods in it. We retubed it with all JJ tubes, because they had put like Ruby tubes in it or something, and that amp sounded great. It sounded great. And I'm a little disappointed because the reverb tank went. Last time I tried to use it, the reverb tank went out. I took it to somebody, and they put a new reverb tank in, but I think they put like a 2-spring reverb, and not like they didn't put the original reverb tank it had, and it doesn't sound the same. So, and Dave, you can tell me if that's one of those myths, but I don't think that tank that we put in sounds as good as the original tank did. So I want to, at some point in time, I need to look up and find what reverb tank it had in. I think it was a 3-spring tank. Order one of those and put it in. And I'm guessing that's really not that hard to do. Like I'm figuring you have to solder 2 wires at most, but somebody can tell me, if anybody in the chat knows, is it hard to put a reverb tank in an amp? But anyway, that's what the amp is. I keep mentioning. It's a cool amp.
Brian Landers is like, changed to 410 Blues Deluxe to 2 Eminence Alnico Blue 10s and 1 Eminence Eric Johnson Alnico 12, and a 15-inch Celestion and 1 15-inch Celestion cabinet. Yeah, that's the thing about the PV Classic series as well, is it does have a 15-inch. I think I have one of those, but I have. So you could, Jason, you could run this one. You could run the Classic 30 combo, which the 12-inch speaker does not get defeated when you plug the extension in. Go into the 410, out of the 410 into the 15. So you could have a 12, 410, and a 15.
Could you do that all in one amp?
I don't know what that would take the ohm load down to, but you can definitely run the 410 and the 15 with a head for sure. So I'm not sure what it would. You can defeat the speaker in the combo. It doesn't automatically do there. David Barber saying the tanks are easy.
Yeah, I figured they would be. Dan Murray said Volkmanic is the man. He was the man, Dan.
That's right.
He was the man, and then he got a girlfriend, and he got married, and he's not the man anymore.
And I think he likes riding motorcycles. And, yeah.
I don't think he's doing it anymore. I don't think he
is, because I think I feel like I don't even know what I was doing, but the last interaction I had with him was actually at his house. I don't know what I was doing. I was picking up something for Chris Delaporta. I don't even know. So my last interaction with Dan was at his house for something. But yeah, Brody's saying the ultimate setup is the 410 and the 115. Yeah, the PV Classic series for sure. Brian Landis is saying that speaker combination he ran off with 1 amp.
I used to buy 3 tanks and then pick the best sounding one. Yeah. I mean, I'm not kidding you. The amp's in my garage. I brought it home when he got it done. I plugged it in. I played like 5 chords and went, nope. Because the person I took it to, first of all, they said it's done. I said, what'd you have to do? Oh, nothing. The reverb works. I'm like, what do you mean the reverb works? I brought it to you because it didn't work. So I turned it on, the reverb works. I'm like, where do you have the reverb set? He's like, 7. I'm like, it's a Fender Super. I mean, it might not be a 60s Super, but if you have the reverb on 7 and it doesn't sound like you're in a surf band, there's a problem. And so we went back, oh, yeah, there's something's wrong. The tank is broken. Changed the tank, brought it home, hit a chord, was like, man, it doesn't sound the same. It is still sitting in the garage. And this has been like probably at least a year or so ago. So
yeah, because on a Fender amp, Dick Dale shows up at like 4.
Right, and this is the other problem is it is really a loud. It's really loud. You wouldn't think so, but I mean, it is really loud.
Yeah, David Barber's saying he had that same setup back in the early 90s, which is probably about the vintage of those cabinets that I have about that time. I was fortunate enough. The only thing I don't have in that series that I've kind of toyed with is they made a 412 in the Tweed as well. But I have 2 of the 112s, which are nice, and I think those probably have a Blue Marble. There's one we use at the church, and the other one's at your house, right, Jason? Are we using that one for the 412?
What,
the 112.
112 cabinet, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
The best reverb setting on a Fender amp is off. That's a myth.
That's right.
That's a myth. Non-reverb people.
That's funny.
What was Dan doing up there earlier? Was he billing me saying that Manic's not the man anymore?
That he's not doing it anymore, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Because the guy was good. I mean, the guy knew amps. Like, there's a story with that amp where every night at like 1:15 in the morning, that amp would like go into this crazy noise that the only way you could stop was turning it off. And it would happen it happened at like 3 gigs in a row. 1:50, we start at 9, 1:15 in the morning, the amp like blows up. I take it to him, couldn't figure it out. Literally turned it on one night, left it on one day, left it on for like 4 hours, and it started to do it. Called him on the phone and held the phone to the amp. I'm like, do you hear that? And he's like, yeah, bring it over. And it was this weird like spot around one of the tubes where the solder was. When it got that hot after 4 hours, the solder would allow a break to happen or something. I don't know. I don't know what I'm talking about, but you know,
right?
Something like that. Crazy. It's sharpening the sound like every guitar pickup.
Well, yeah, because I got to go back to Za's original comment. If my screen would stop refreshing, it would be helpful. Sorry. No one's ever going to confuse us with professionals. So just 1 second. Za said, I lost it again. Sorry, kids.
Oh, develop a multi-FX USB pickup where you can have some guitar sounds like a single Tele Jazz Master pickup Les Paul. Do you like the idea?
It's kind of like the Variac kind of does that. Variac guitars. Brian Landis, I think, is trying to sell a Hall of Fame 2 here. Anybody need that?
So
turn this into a
Brian's Player come in then?
What's that?
Did Brian's Player reverb pedal come in?
He said, I'm loving my new Digitech Polera reverb. Yep, so it came in. And we'll get an unofficial review, but was talking to my friend Ken Geis, because when we had Laura Spectros on, he bought one of the mini fuzzes, and it did come in, but he is actually been like busy with real life work, but he promised to give me a full report on that. Speaking of pedals that someone ordered recently, but
so he does have it.
He does have it. Yep.
So maybe someday we can borrow it.
He does IT for a local school district that is remodeling 2 buildings during this time, so he has been busier than a one-armed wallpaper hanger. So rhymes with Cramp Hill.
We need an HOF too.
Maybe we could turn this into a swap meet.
Right. Right. So just what else?
Oh, we made it to another show about basically nothing and got to 50 minutes.
Yeah. David said that the proofs are on the way, I think. For those of you that have been following the never-ending Get Some Enclosure saga that he had going on.
Yeah.
So the proofs are on the way. So I told him that I wanted serial number 000-COVID-19. Because the first pedal is always the best sounding one, has the most mojo, especially if you have it signed, and of course if you have the box and case candy. Right. And then, so that led to, I don't know, there's a potential, I'm not going to talk too much about it. We need to talk about it more, but there's a potential myth show coming up with
right
a guest or two. Really early planning stages of that. We're not going to talk about it, but
well, apparently, in my ignorance, I create my own myths, so we would have an unlimited amount of topics.
So, Fender reverb sounds better than other reverbs.
Yeah, Pete Hickson, it's funny you say that. He says, I don't sell gear once I've bought it. And that's kind of been our joke, that we're not collectors, we're just not sellers. So there you go.
Yeah. Dan has a shop full. Do you have any enclosures over there, Dan?
I'll say, yeah, Dan, if you've got enclosures, man, you might be able to retire. Pretty much every pedal builder we've talked to, the enclosure supply chain is breaking down at the moment. So, Beard FX.
So could you put? Well, I don't know. No, I'm afraid to mention the kit word.
Yeah, some people have an aversion to that. At least one person on the chat does.
Can you put directions together for your DOS, or not your DOS verb, but for the Heisenberg boost? Put it in the kit form, drop the parts in, and ship it out to people to build kits. You can probably sell it that way. You don't have to put them together. But don't say kits to Barber.
How about instead of a kit, you just fix one of the loves of my life, that the power supply is being a little janky. Let's do that. Let's start with that a kit. Let's do that as a kit.
Well, that too, because
I've got several pedals that need a little love, honestly.
Brian was asking about somebody to fix pedals too, and Mike Morrison was asking the other day if we knew anybody could fix them. He had a bunch of pedals he needed to fix.
And we've never mentioned Stan Fowry by name on the chat, but his cousin's in here today.
Oh.
I think we got our answer. Even less rewarding than building is fixing.
He said he has about 50 125B enclosures. Yeah, but I think part of the problem too, it's not just enclosures, it's enclosures that have been.
Yeah.
I'd buy a PJ and the Beard signature pedal.
I love it. That would be an episode. David Barber's offering fix the pedal on the live stream. I'll walk you through. Man, it'd be like
Pat with a sock.
And I
are you kidding?
Romper, bumper, stomper, boo. I think that's kind of what that episode would turn into. I just burnt myself with a soldering iron. Okay, Brian Landorf is asking if a Boss DD5 is even worth fixing. I don't know. I have one that works, but I don't know. I would imagine some things are easier to fix than others.
What would you want in a signature stomp box? Holy cow!
Who's asking that question?
TL Pedals, Tim.
Oh, okay.
We'll talk about that. How many subs did that pedal show have when they did their signature pedal? With we have half of that, which will be probably in about never.
Right. Yeah, David. I think it's the power supply to this Danica, which I do love so much, actually. But I've scratched the tape echo itch with several others. But of course, he could be answering Brian's question. So
yeah, well, he did ask Brian what's wrong. Right. Depends on what's wrong with it. If you think it's if it's a jack, I don't know. Like I think I'm more skilled than I am. I'm afraid of soldering on pedal boards, or on the circuit boards on a pedal. They're just so small. Like I'm afraid of that. I tried to do it with something. Oh, you know what I tried to do? I tried to that loop switcher I have.
Yeah.
They sent me, there was a bad switch in it, and they sent me a switch or two, and I was going to replace a switch or two.
Right.
And it's just a loop switcher. And I was like, forget it. After I got the switch out and started playing, I was like, no, this is not for me. This is not for me.
I don't know. Maybe when we get up to the 50th episode of 19 Conversations, maybe then we'll do a fix it. You fix it show.
Did you see Dave's?
I did. David Barber. I know. Well, between us multitasking and looking around, but yes, she is. Katie Purr, so party.
Oh man, I have mouse troubles.
You need a cat.
So we'll leave you with this. We'll put that up there for Dave. And
what was the headline? Katy Perry fans leave wondering what?
I don't know.
Oh, okay. You just found Katy Perry.
Wondering if she's pregnant.
No.
All right.
So at this point, I think you're stuck with us again tomorrow. We're sort of in that weird.
Well, I don't know.
No?
Well,
I mean,
it depends. We're working on stuff, but yeah, probably, very likely yes, but maybe not. Maybe not. But we're figuring it out.
Right.
We got some things to think about. All right. Oh, music therapy lasts. Hey, what's up, music therapy lasts?
Well, I think I'm. Yeah, that's right. That, and I think I missed welcoming Stu Rat in a while ago as well.
And Quentin James. Glad everybody joined us for the end. We'll have amazing sign off.
You can't imagine the magic that you missed. It was a good conversation today. I mean, I think it was.
Found out Katy Perry's pretty. Where David Barber thinks Katy Perry's pretty.
Right. Pete Dixon says he has a Gaiatone tape echo. That sounds EM77 sounds wonderful.
I'm about to win. That's one pedal I almost wish that old Gaiatone Flip Series envelope filter I had. I almost wish I wouldn't have sold that.
Right. That's why we don't sell anything, right? Like immediate remorse.
I mean, that's like one of the few times I've ever had seller's remorse on one of those.
Right.
All right. I think we call it.
Oh, you just want to try to get in under an hour?
No, Pete's telling people to ask a question, and it's time to fly. That way
we can literally count down the last 20 seconds. That'll be riveting, won't it?
That way I can send. I'll tell you what. We're gonna end this, Tim. I'm gonna send you a link just so you can test this out really quick. I don't have a lot of time, but just to see if we can get you in and stuff.
I'll stay on too. What'd you say? Sorry, I cut you off.
Dan said Guy Tone Funky Box. That's the one I sold.
Well, and Brian Landers is saying he's got the Guy Tone Flip Tube Tremolo.
Right.
I know some guys who are about to do a series.
Right.
Maybe.
That was a good line of pedals. It's not running. They don't make them anymore, but
I'll hang on to Jason, because sometimes, like with a couple people in the chat, do a true test. So,
well, for us to do that, you're gonna have to say,
oh yeah,
goodbye.
Right. So thanks to everybody for joining in today. Thanks for the conversation about speakers and other things. And with that, I'm PJ on behalf of the Beard, reminding you, no matter what you hear, you never have too much gear. Even if it has stuff inside, you have no idea what it does. Peace out. See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow, everybody.
See you, David Barber and all.